welcome to the next in our series of chats with local East Anglian business owners. And today I'm talking to Matt Chambers from CMP Insurance Services. Good afternoon, Matt. How are you today?
Hello, Martin. Yes, I'm good, thank you.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And thank you very much for taking the time to chat to us today. Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into the nitty gritty of why we're here and what we're going to talk about today. So why don't you just tell me a bit about your business?
Okay, so CMP Insurance is a privately owned business between myself and my business partner. We didn't have the most imagination when it came to the business name, so we took my surname and his surname. We've been established since 2015, and we would consider ourselves to be in the group of high street brokers. So by that I mean we have a shop, retail outlet on the high street where people from Newmarket and the surrounding areas can come in, speak to myself or one of the team, and we can do face-to-face transactions. Of course, we also then have telephones that we can take, and we're progressing down the website route as well. From an insurance point of view, we specialise in general insurance and the majority of commercial insurance as well. So just to touch upon that quickly, general is what you and I would need on a personal basis. So that's car, van, bike, home, etc. And then commercial would be for your tradesman, your shopkeeper, your professional indemnity, which I have, and it's the more business-related sides of insurance. We have, obviously being a new market, we have moved into horse insurance, and we insure an awful lot of horse boxes. That's an area that we would say we specialise in. And we've also, over the last few years, started to slowly become intermingled with, intertwined, if you like, with the equine and the racing world as well.
Wow. Okay. So you've been in business now for about six years, I think it was. You said 2015 is when you started.
January 31st, yeah.
Yeah. So fantastic. I mean, that's great news, and the sounds of business is going quite strong. So really interesting. You've got a very broad range of products there. So who would be your ideal client, or what would be your target market?
Well, again, I need to give you some background first. So where both Neil and myself, we work for what we would call the super brokers. So we are these large, huge organisations. You see the adverts on the TVs. They would work alongside many of the big aggregators, so Confused.com, Money Supermarket. And we've worked for them for probably best part of 20 years each. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring back insurance to its traditional format. So we created CMP because, to be honest, and there's nothing wrong with the model, that's obviously made it very successful, but we thought that we had lost track of the face-to-face client, the knowing the client. The dad comes in, you insure them, you insure the wife, then the sons, and you slowly watch that progress through. So if you said to me, Matt, what is your ideal client? We don't target any specific group. If somebody is willing to walk in and have a conversation with us, obviously I like all my clients to be extremely honest, hopefully not miss any direct debit payments. But other than that, you know, there's not a point where someone would walk in and I'd say, no, sorry, we're not interested. You know, we'll listen to everything. And thankfully, we can accommodate most clients as well. Yeah. Yeah. So no, I don't want to say, oh, unless you're earning £50,000 or more, I'm interested. No, it's not like that. Not like that at all.
So let me phrase the question another way then. So who would you like to work with ideally?
Well, I'd like to work with all of the shops and offices in Newmarket, of course. Mm-hmm. That's something that we're very slowly starting to get into. Now, you might think that's odd because you've been there 5 years and you are on the high street. But one thing you need to bear in mind from an insurance broker's point of view, if you suddenly go to market, so you go to all of the shops, the offices, etc., when you first started out, and you don't have the full panel of insurers that you really need to cater for all the needs, it doesn't take very long for you to get a bit of a reputation of not being able to cater for enough people. So what we said, and you know, we we made it clear until we were comfortable with our panel of insurers and that we could accommodate for everybody in Newmarket and surrounding areas, we didn't really push into that market.
Right.
We've only really started over the last 12 months. You take taxi, for example, which is, you know, they have nice premiums. We're a rural insurer, and the taxi claims aren't that bad with us. But we've got a taxi rank 100 yards away from our office, but we've never approached it until recently, when we actually had enough insurers to turn around and go, we're competitive. Because it doesn't take long to give John a bad quote, because it'll be up and down the rank, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've really made sure of, not rushing out there and tripping ourselves over.
So you've been quite strategic in your decisions in terms of making sure you built up your stable. And
exactly right.
Enough before you go and approach people. Yeah,
and I'm pleased to say that we've now got a panel that, you know, having worked for some companies that turn over 80 million pounds.
Yeah.
We've got similar sized panels to them. So it's been great. The response from the insurers has been fantastic.
Yeah, no, just some wise decisions made there. That sounds really, you know, really good stuff. So look, we're in our third lockdown. Third time lucky, as they say. You know, how's COVID-19 affected your business, Matt?
Okay, well, the first thing I want to say is we have had to shut our doors, but we can still trade. So, you know, both myself and my business partner, we do feel for those businesses that have literally 1 minute they're trading, they're looking forward to 2020. January and February were half decent months, and they're looking at their forecasts, and then all of a sudden, don't get me wrong, my forecast did exactly that, but it didn't get completely cut off at the legs, if you like. We just went, and it was a case of, in one respect, it was a case of battening down the hatches. No, you know, if something didn't need to be purchased, it wasn't purchased. And we just really focused on our existing book of business, and making sure that we hadn't missed any opportunities. So the biggest impact for us with COVID has to be the number of walk-ins we've had, has to be the amount of new business that's out there. We could never understand really why that happened, because we were speaking to other broking friends, and a lot of us were like, well, it's not that bad. People are going to have more time. They're going to be working from home, therefore they might be shopping around more. No matter which broker I spoke to, we were all the same. It was, people aren't shopping around. People are it's almost like a tick box exercise, or it must have become a tick box exercise. I need to do the home insurance. Let's get it done. Let's renew it with our existing. And so retention, so our renewals, the retention rate went that way, and the new business rate went that way.
Is that because you really started focusing on the retention?
No, I mean, we've always focused on the retention, but I guess it kind of made you suddenly realise that, yes, maybe rather than putting a couple of phone calls in, you might have put the extra phone call in. And, you know, retention, the percentage of our retained business did go up a few points. And speaking to other businesses, it's interesting because, and those that can still continue to trade, you know, again, for those that can't, I'm sorry about that. But it was almost like you reevaluated everything you did, all your processes, everything you purchased, you know, and it was kind of like, God, why didn't we do this before?
Well, it's quite interesting because so COVID, you obviously very clearly focused on your current existing business and really looking after them, which was absolutely the right thing to do. Because actually, you probably even got some more sales out of those existing businesses potentially because you gave them more focus this time round.
Well, I mean, yes, I mean we've you know, whereas before we were so inundated with the new business, maybe, you know, client A could have had not only a horse box but then the home, and then suddenly we're looking at it and we're like, you know, even though when you start a business, and we were all involved in retention and cross-selling, and it was all areas that we had worked in and we were allegedly quite good at it, we suddenly realised that we had lost our way a little bit on it. You start the business going, oh no, easily retention. I want 60% of our clients to have more than one, and then suddenly it's quote, new business. And yeah, you did lose sight of that. But you know, going back to the original question, what has COVID done for CMP? Well, it's, as I say, new business was a worry, but it's made us really focus our attention, because we have more time as well, of course, but it's, you know, we're in a very, very good position.
It's interesting, as you started touching on, you started looking at things deeper and deeper and deeper. So what changes have you made because of COVID-19 in the business?
So we now have different procedures in place with, you know, following up on clients, whereas before we would just assume that emails are, you know, as you would, because you rely on the postal service and you rely on your outlets, etc. But no, it was just having that extra conversation with people. We clearly couldn't do any advertising to get more people into the shop because that wasn't happening. But it's just really just focusing more on what we already had, and trying to stay positive.
Yeah.
That has been, you know, there were moments, and I don't mind admitting it, there were moments where I was like, oh my God, you know, all these, you know, the 5 years of sacrificing things, because when you start your own business, of course, you're no longer salaried, you've no longer got the holiday pay, although everyone thinks because you're only insurance brokers, you've got lots of work. But you suddenly think all of these sacrifices, you know, is it all going to be thrown away? And you do have moments, but then it was just like, no, get back to being positive, and that has such a massive effect on everything.
It does, Matt. You're absolutely right. You're having your mindset in the right place during a crisis like this in business is absolutely essential, and that's a great share for all the other business owners that watch this interview. You know, keeping positive and keep those positive thoughts in your head rather than let the negativity take control.
Because if you and this is, and I found this. I mean, I'll be honest. I put my hands up. But lockdown 3 for me has been the easiest. Right, which probably most people think, no, I can't understand that. But for me, it was the easiest because the mind has just been so focused on, you know, what we need to do, how we need to get out. And suddenly, if you do keep positive thoughts and things like that, all the worries you once had, you've either dealt with, or you start to realise there's no point in worrying about it because you have zero control over it. Don't waste your time thinking about things you can't control. Just look at what you can change or do.
Great advice, fantastic advice. And anybody listening should listen to that advice, because it is absolutely crucial to not worry about things you can't control. Absolutely. What's the one thing that you've missed most during lockdown?
Having a life-work balance.
Just when you say the pub.
Yeah. I didn't really want to say that, but trust me, all of me's yearning for it. No, I suppose it is. It's the, you know, for me again, because it's been. I can just throw. If I can just throw myself into work. All of the other business owners watching this, we all know, you don't start a business thinking you turn up at 9 and go on the fire. So there's lots you can do. So do I miss the work-life balance? But I hadn't really had that for the 4 or 5 years previous. Yeah, I could give you all the normal answers. Oh, I miss the family. Oh, I miss the, you know. But it's just the freedom, just to do whatever you want to do, and you know.
So being hemmed in a little bit, restricted.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and pubs.
And pubs, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pubs have got to get in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think you started talking about this, but what have you really learned about yourself over the past 4 months?
Again, you know, realise what you can and can't control, and don't feel this is coming from me. Don't feel that you're underachieving if you can't change something that you can't control. Yeah, I mean that's it. Really. I mean it's just
focus.
That's it. It's just staying positive. Why do we need to watch the news all the time? You can get an update every now and again. You don't need to listen to the press constantly trying to find a story out of nothing. Just to have a story, it's turn it off. You get catch up on stick on the morning news at 6 o'clock. Watch that for half an hour while you're having a cup of tea. You've picked up everything you need, and then just turn it off.
Another gold nugget of advice. Another gold nugget.
Everyone knows this anyway. Everyone's sick of news.
It absolutely is. And my philosophy is I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news, because if there's big enough news, somebody's going to tell me about it.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So yeah, like minds and all that. So what or who has inspired you most in your life then, Matt?
Sorry?
What or who has inspired you the most in your life?
I won't mention any names, but there were two individuals for me, really, and I worked for both of them. If we're talking from a business perspective, and yeah, it was just, I just looked at what they did, how they handled themselves, and tried my hardest to take on board what they told me, and they were great mentors. I'm not going to give you a famous name or a pop star or a footballer or anything like that, because but yeah, that's that. From a business point of view, that those two individuals, I would say, and they were both owned insurance brokers, and they were both big, and I worked for both of them as well.
So they were role models for you in terms of where you are now and how you've got there, essentially.
Both had extremely different approaches to things, but I respected them fully, and I respected the people that, even though they were both multi-millionaires, they always had time for you, and I don't want to pigeonhole any occupation or anything like that, but say somebody was, we used to have at one occupation, one job, we had people who would come around and make the cups of tea, part-time, bless her, she was lovely, and they had as much time for everybody within the business. Yet they got into their Bentleys and they got into their Aspens and they went on their merry way to a different world.
And that's what you call great leadership.
Well, it's stuck. Not that my staff are probably say completely different.
Yeah, that's not the case. Matt, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, and there's been some great nuggets in amongst there for all the business owners when they watch this interview to learn from and take going forward. I mean, we've still got a few months left before we're out of lockdown, so I'm sure they can apply some of that to where they are right now and get ready for when the doors reopen.
If they take anything from it, and I can't stress this enough, it is just think about what you're worrying about. Write it down, get a whiteboard, write them all down.
Yeah.
Put lines through what you can't control, and then you might start smiling again.
Well, I'm going to finish the interview on that note, because I think that's a poignant place to finish our chat today. As I said, look, thank you very much for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly loved chatting to you. And look, I'll see you soon.
No problem. You take care. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.